Okay, indices. Are you ready for the real mess up today? Let's start. Now we started with this situation. This situation is a gap. Usually the gap tends to be filled, especially if it's not too big like this one. So I was really trying to enter a short position to ride a gap filling, and that didn't happen. Gap filling is an advanced trade, is an exception to our general rules, and so I'm not watching this histogram here. It's a special situation. It usually works. This time didn't. So you see that I entered here, the market gave me 6 or 7 points, and it bounced at the moving average. This was again what I call the fishing expedition. I was trapped, and the market went the other side and actually over the stop. This was a long. However, I couldn't take it because we are very close to R1 resistance here. I was kind of thinking that the market would actually made a bet for closing the gap again. But before doing that, well, they managed to get in, get up, suck me in again for the second time, and stop me out. So I started with the, as you remember, 3 losses, oil, and 2 on DAX. This didn't happen for a pretty long time, actually. I actually managed to get something back quickly on this one here. This was a scalp. Again, I was kind of hoping that the market would close the gap. They actually touched it, so I was kind of right, but it went up immediately. So that would tell me that they had no intention of closing the gap, and I would have been wrong because they tried here, but it was too late for us. It's after 10 o'clock. Quite a lot of things happen in the times we don't trade, so that was another a little bit of an unlucky kind of thing. Here we have another situation that is quite interesting today. DAX and YM or ES were not really in sync, and we'll see it in a second. But I didn't take this trade here because I didn't have the signal. I had to wait for this candle to close, and so I was quite late. Luckily, I had an earlier signal on YM, and I could do 2 things. One was to enter YM, and I was already in profit when YM went in, so I could also enter the DAX because I wasn't doubling up the risk. I was just having the risk of the DAX. I didn't have the risk of YM anymore. As it happened, the DAX didn't do anything, and in any case, I had to get out at 1:30. So I went out to break even before the news. Now this is quite interesting. I took this trade. I'm not very proud. I actually took it on a whim. It's a valid trade in a way. You see, that's this big drop here, and it was justified by a number of things. First of all, again, this out of synchronicity with YM and the S&P. YM dropped something like 25 points. And the DAX dropped something like 70, 65, and so it was a huge drop. I thought there was quite a lot of momentum. There were some rumors about the German government thinking of what to do with Deutsche Bank and all these kind of things in these days. So I was persuaded that this big candle here had still a little bit of life. Plus, there were 2 things. I could have entered as I did at about 14 or 13, and here there was S1, which is a magnet, and also the big round number, which is a magnet. So I entered and I made my 10-ish point, a little bit more. And that was good because I was starting getting back some of the losses that I had in the morning. The other trade was quite interesting, was my usual advanced re-entry. In this case, it was advanced because I want to see the market actually bouncing on a particular point, like pivot point of resistance, or usually the moving averages. But this was again a special situation. The US indices were starting going down, so I actually entered here for another scalp to this point here, and I actually have taken back all the losses that I had this morning with a little more. After this, I could have entered here, but it was after 4 o'clock, and again for the system, it's not valid. Okay, more mess on YM. The morning was quite straightforward. I didn't take this because I gave precedence to the DAX, and as you can see, I was wrong because the DAX gave me a loss. But in any case, it would have been correlated. Here, that was the signal. I could have entered, but actually, I wanted to wait for this to be cleared, and it didn't clear it. And in any case, it was correlation with the DAX. Now here, as I said before, we had an earlier signal. We had the signal at 1 o'clock, so we could have easily entered here. And this was a very good trade because I made more than 20 points. The first target would have been a big round number, of course. I was kind of hoping that the market would go to daily pivot, but it didn't. So, but it was good. It was good. And the other thing is that here, just before here, I had to get out because there was the 1:30 news. Nothing happened in this case, but usually it's quite important. And then the whole thing started being really, really, really messy. This is 2:30, New York Open. We don't do anything. We were not triggered. We would have been triggered here. And that would have been a great trade. Unfortunately, at this point, it was 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, there were some news and people talking, and so you can't enter. And the price action here became, you see all these big wicks, lots of spikes, big spike. The market retraced completely on this, and then it went up. And it was quite interesting actually, because again we have basically the opposite situation with the DAX, and I thought, well, you know, it went up. It's a big bar again. Risk would have been too high because the normal stop should have been put here, but I said, okay, well, look, it's breaking this high here, is breaking the previous highs here. I'm gonna take a risk. I was quite risk taking today, and I actually started with a stop more or less at the mid range of this bar here, and as it happened, I was trapped. So I had yet another loss. That was the fourth of the day on YM. The market then went down much less than the DAX, as you can remember from the previous video. But we had the chance at the very last moment, just before 4 o'clock, to get in at this point. At this point, my risk on DAX was already zero. I already made my 10-15 points, so I took this, and this was a really good trade. Because I got all the points to here. I got partly 10 points, 12 points here, and then the rest here on the daily pivot. So rescued the situation, but it was a very, very tricky day today.